The suffocating heat hits you first, thick with the smell of rotting seaweed, roasted pork, and stale rum. It is the summer of 1717, and you are standing ankle-deep in the blinding white sands of New Providence Island in the Bahamas. Before you lies a harbor packed with stolen ships, their masts piercing the clear blue sky like a forest of dead trees. Ashore, there are no grand colonial palaces, no paved roads, and no red-coated soldiers marching in formation. Instead, you are looking at a sprawling, chaotic shantytown of sailcloth tents, driftwood shacks, and overturned halls. This is Nassau. To the British Crown, it is a festering wound on the map of the empire. But to the 3,000 souls who live here, it is something entirely different. It is a republic of thieves, a radical experiment in democracy, and the most dangerous place on earth. Welcome to the Golden Age of Piracy, not as a myth, but as a living, breathing reality. To understand how this lawless paradise came to be, you have to understand the world of 1717. Just a few years ago, the great European powers were locked in the War of the Spanish Succession. For over a decade, the Royal Navy employed thousands of sailors as privateers, essentially legal pirates, licensed to plunder French and Spanish ships. But when the Treaty of Utrecht brought peace in 1713, these men were discarded. The Royal Navy discharged tens of thousands of sailors, dumping them onto the docks of London, Bristol, and Port Royal, with no pay, no prospects, and no way to feed their families. At the same time, the working conditions on legitimate merchant vessels were horrific. Sailors were starved, beaten, and sometimes flogged to death by tyrannical captains to save a few pennies on rations. Facing starvation on land or slavery at sea, thousands of men made a different choice. They chose the Black Flag. The catalyst for Nassau's rise happened just 2 years ago, in 1715. A massive Spanish treasure fleet, loaded with silver, gold, and jewels from the New World, was obliterated by a hurricane off the coast of Florida. The Spanish set up salvage camps on the beaches to recover the staggering wealth from the shallow waters. When word reached the disgruntled sailors and former privateers in the Caribbean, it was like throwing blood in the water. Men like Henry Jennings and Charles Vane descended on the Spanish camps, butchering the guards and stealing the recovered silver. Suddenly, hundreds of men were unimaginably rich, but they had a problem. They were now outlaws. They could not sail into a legitimate port like Kingston or Boston to spend their Spanish silver without risking the hangman's noose. They needed a base. They needed a sanctuary. They found it in Nassau. The geography of New Providence Island made it a perfect pirate fortress. The harbor was deep enough to hold hundreds of ships, but the entrances were dangerously shallow and choked with treacherous coral reefs. A heavy British man-of-war, bristling with cannons, would run aground and tear its hull to pieces trying to navigate the narrow channels. But the pirates sailed shallow-draft sloops, swift and nimble vessels that could glide over the reefs with ease. Furthermore, Nassau had a natural spring for fresh water, plenty of wild pigs for meat, and millions of sea turtles that could be caught and kept alive on their backs in the ship's hold for fresh meat on long voyages. The island had been abandoned by the British government years earlier after repeated Spanish and French raids. The fort overlooking the harbor was in ruins, its cannons rusted and half buried in the sand. The pirates simply moved in, claimed the island for themselves, and declared it a free republic. As you walk up from the beach and enter the settlement, the sheer noise of the place is overwhelming. It is mid-morning, but the town is already roaring. Nassau has no laws, no courts, and no police force, yet it functions through a bizarre, chaotic economy of its own. You are walking through a sea of humanity that defies every social norm of the 18th century. Here, escaped African slaves walk shoulder to shoulder with former Royal Navy officers. Disgraced aristocrats drink from the same cup as illiterate dock workers. In the rigid, class-obsessed world of 1717,
where a man's birthline dictates his entire destiny, Nassau is a terrifying anomaly. It is a true meritocracy. A man is judged not by his bloodline, but by his courage, his skill with a cutlass, and his loyalty to his crew.
The visual spectacle of the pirates themselves is striking. Forget the Hollywood uniforms of matching leather coats and tricorn hats. The men around you are wearing stolen, mismatched finery. A pirate might wear a filthy, salt-stained linen shirt paired with a stolen French aristocrat's velvet waistcoat, completely unsuited for the tropical heat. They wear heavy silk breeches looted from an East India merchantman and expensive silver-buckled shoes. They drape themselves in looted jewelry, not just for vanity, but as a portable bank account. A heavy gold earring or a silver chain is an insurance policy, a way to guarantee a decent burial or a bribe if they ever find themselves in a tight spot. They are armed to the teeth, carrying multiple flintlock pistols tucked into silk sashes, heavy cutlasses with basket hilts to protect their hands in close quarters combat, and wicked boarding axes designed to smash through the wooden doors of a captain's cabin. You pass by the waterfront, where the business of piracy is being conducted in broad daylight. Nassau is not just a hideout, it is a booming black market. The wealth flowing into this harbor is staggering, but pirates cannot eat silver, and they cannot drink gold. They need supplies, weapons, sail canvas, and rum. This necessity has given rise to the fences, the corrupt merchants who sail down from New York, Boston, and Charleston. These merchants are the unsung enablers of the pirate republic. They anchor in the harbor and buy stolen sugar, indigo, spices, and manufactured goods from the pirates at a fraction of their market value. In return, they sell the pirates gunpowder, shot, medical supplies, and alcohol at massively inflated prices. The merchants then sail back to the American colonies and sell the stolen goods for a massive profit, often bribing colonial governors to look the other way. The entire economy of the eastern seaboard is secretly being fueled by the plunder of Nassau. As you navigate the muddy, unpaved paths between the tents, you begin to notice the taverns. Nassau is said to have more taverns than houses, and it is easy to believe. These are not grand English pubs. They are crude structures made of salvaged ship timber and palm fronds, stinking of spilled alcohol, sweat, and vomit. But they are the beating heart of the Republic. Inside, the heat is stifling, and the air is thick with the smoke of cheap tobacco. It is here that crews are recruited, mutinies are planned, and fortunes are squandered. You find yourself standing near the edge of a gathering, listening to a crew vote on their next voyage. This is perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of the Pirate Republic. While the sailors of the Royal Navy are treated as disposable property, the pirates have established a radical system of self-governance. Before a ship sails, every man signs a document known as the Articles. This pirate code lays out the rules of the voyage. It guarantees every man an equal vote in the affairs of the ship. They vote on where to sail, who to attack, and shockingly, they elect their captain. If a captain proves to be cowardly in battle or overly cruel, the crew can simply vote him out of power and elect a new one on the spot. Furthermore, the Articles establish a system of checks and balances. The captain has absolute authority during the heat of battle, but at all other times, the day-to-day running of the ship, the distribution of food, and the dispensing of discipline are handled by the quartermaster, who is also elected by the crew. The quartermaster acts as a tribune of the people, ensuring the captain does not overstep his bounds. The Articles also include a rudimentary workers' compensation program. If a man loses an arm or a leg in battle, he's guaranteed a specific payout from the common plunder before the rest of the loot is divided. A lost right arm might fetch 600 pieces of 8,
while a lost eye or leg might fetch 400. In an era where a disabled sailor in London would be left to beg and starve in the gutters, the pirates take care of their own.
Suddenly, a shout echoes from the ruined fort above the harbor. A ship has been spotted on the horizon. The lazy, drunken atmosphere of the town instantly evaporates, replaced by a crackling electric tension. Men spill out of the taverns, squinting against the glaring sun, shading their eyes to look out past the reefs. Is it a British warship come to hang them all, or is it one of their own, returning with a prize? As the sails grow larger, a collective cheer erupts from the beach. It is a pirate sloop, and trailing behind it on a tow line is a massive, lumbering merchant galleon. The sloop is flying the black flag. It is crucial to understand that the Jolly Roger is not just a cool symbol, it is a highly effective tool of psychological warfare. Pirates do not want to fight if they can avoid it. Combat means damaged ships, wasted gunpowder, and dead pirates. The goal is intimidation. When a pirate ship approaches a merchant vessel, they fire a warning shot and hoist the black flag. The message is clear: surrender now and you will not be harmed. We only want your cargo. But if the merchant ship chooses to fight, the black flag is lowered and the red flag is raised. The red flag means no quarter given, no mercy. Every man on board will be slaughtered. Faced with that terrifying choice, 9 out of 10 merchant captains simply strike their colors and surrender without firing a single shot. The returning sloop navigates the treacherous coral reefs with practiced ease, dragging its captured prize into the harbor. The town descends upon the docks like a swarm of locusts. Small rowboats and canoes dart out to meet the incoming ships. You watch as the pirates begin the arduous process of unloading their plunder. This is the moment of truth, the culmination of weeks of miserable, dangerous work at sea. The holds of the merchant ship are cracked open, and the treasures of the world are hauled up into the blinding Caribbean sun. There are heavy wooden crates packed with fine Indian silks, barrels of aromatic spices from the East Indies, and massive hogsheads of refined sugar and molasses. There are medicine, a commodity worth its weight in gold in the disease-ridden tropics. And, of course, there is the hard currency. Heavy leather bags clinking with Spanish pieces of 8, gold doubloons, and silver bars. The quartermaster stands on the deck, meticulously recording every item in a ledger. The division of the spoils is a sacred ritual. The loot is divided into shares. The captain and the quartermaster usually receive 2 shares each. The master gunner and the boatswain receive 1.5, and every ordinary sailor receives 1 full share. It is a system of profound fairness that ensures every man is invested in the success of the voyage. As the silver is distributed, the atmosphere in Nassau transforms from anticipation to absolute delirium. You are witnessing an instant economic boom. Men who were penniless beggars just months ago are suddenly holding more wealth than an honest merchant sailor could earn in a lifetime. But pirates are not known for their financial planning. They live by a grim, fatalistic philosophy. They know that their lives will likely be short, ending at the end of a hangman's rope, from a musket ball, or from the ravages of yellow fever. Therefore, there is no point in saving for the future. The future does not exist. There is only today, and today they are rich. The sun begins to set, painting the sky in violent shades of bruised purple and fiery orange. But the heat does not break. It only becomes heavier, wrapping around the island like a wet blanket. As darkness falls, Nassau truly comes alive. The beaches are illuminated by dozens of roaring bonfires. The air fills with the discordant sounds of fiddles, drums, and drunken singing. You walk past a group of pirates roasting a whole wild pig over an open flame, the fat dripping and hissing into the fire. The taverns are now packed to bursting. The sheer volume of alcohol consumed in Nassau is staggering. They drink Kill Devil rum,
a harsh, unaged spirit that burns the throat and rots the gut. They drink punch, a potent mixture of rum, sugar, water, and lime juice, served in massive communal bowls. They drink bombo, a mixture of rum, water, sugar, and nutmeg. The drinking is not a leisurely pastime. It is a desperate, frantic attempt to obliterate the senses, to forget the horrors of combat, the terrifying storms at sea, and the ever-present specter of death. In the corner of one tavern, you see the heavyweights of the pirate republic. Sitting at a table, surrounded by a respectful, fearful distance, is Benjamin Hornigold. He is one of the founding fathers of the Flying Gang, the loose confederation of pirate captains who rule Nassau. Hornigold is a man of principles, an older, seasoned sailor who stubbornly refuses to attack British ships, still viewing himself as a loyal privateer fighting a private war against the Spanish and the French. But his crew is growing restless with his rules. They do not care about the flags on the ships they rob. They only care about the gold in the hold. Sitting next to Hornigold is his protege, a massive, imposing man with wild, staring eyes and a thick, dark beard that covers his face. His name is Edward Teach, but the world will soon know him as Blackbeard. Even now, in 1717, before his legend has fully blossomed, Teach understands the power of theatricality. He knows that fear is a far more effective weapon than a cannon. He's loud, boisterous, and deliberately terrifying, cultivating an aura of demonic invincibility. Across the room sits Charles Vane, a cruel, unpredictable captain known for his vicious temper and his absolute hatred of authority. Vane represents the new generation of pirates, men who have no loyalty to any king or country, men who will burn the world down before they surrender their freedom. As the night wears on, the dark underbelly of this utopia becomes impossible to ignore. The freedom of Nassau comes at a terrible price. With no laws and no constables, violence is the only way to settle disputes. You watch as a drunken argument over a game of dice spills out into the muddy street. Two men draw their heavy cutlasses. The crowd forms a circle, cheering and placing bets. The fight is brutal, clumsy, and short. There's no swashbuckling elegance here, just the sickening crunch of steel hitting bone, a spray of dark blood in the moonlight, and a man left bleeding out in the dirt, while the victor stumbles back into the tavern to buy another round. Nobody calls for a doctor, nobody cares. Life is incredibly cheap in the pirate republic.
Beyond the violence, there is the invisible killer that stalks the island, disease. The sanitation in Nassau is non-existent. Men relieve themselves in the streets and the shallow waters of the harbor. The mosquito-infested swamps surrounding the town are a breeding ground for malaria and yellow fever. Scurvy, dysentery, and syphilis ravage the population. You see men sitting by the fires with rotting teeth, swollen limbs, and hollow, jaundiced eyes. The pirate life is often romanticized, but the physical reality is one of chronic pain, malnutrition, and creeping rot. The freedom they have purchased with their stolen silver is paid for with their health and their lives. Yet despite the filth, the violence, and the disease, there is an undeniable, intoxicating energy in the air. For these men, it is worth it. They have looked at the brutal, crushing machinery of the 18th century world, a world that viewed them as nothing more than disposable cogs in the engine of empire, and they have said no. They have carved out a space where they are the masters of their own destiny. They answer to no magistrate, they bow to no lord, and they pay taxes to no king. For a brief, shining moment in history, the lowest men in society have turned the world upside down. But as you stand on the beach, looking out at the dark ocean reflecting the light of the stars, you can feel the fragility of it all. The pirates are victims of their own spectacular success. They have plundered too many ships, disrupted too much trade, and stolen too much wealth. The merchants of London, Boston, and Jamaica are screaming at the British Parliament.
The East India Company and the Royal African Company are demanding action. The Crown can no longer ignore the humiliation of Nassau. The Pirate Republic has become an existential threat to the global economy of the British Empire. Rumors are already whispering through the taverns, carried on the lips of the merchant captains and smugglers. King George I is preparing a response. He is not just sending warships, he is sending a weapon far more dangerous to the pirate way of life. He is drafting an act of grace, a royal pardon for any pirate who surrenders by a specific date. It is a brilliant, insidious strategy. The British government knows they cannot kill every pirate in the Caribbean, but they can divide them. They can offer a clean slate, a chance to return to the legitimate world without facing the gallows. And behind the pardon comes the hammer. The Crown has appointed a new governor for the Bahamas, a former privateer himself, a man named Woodes Rogers. He is gathering a fleet of heavily armed warships, and he is coming to Nassau to deliver the pardon in one hand and the hangman's noose in the other. The pirates do not know exactly when he will arrive, but they know he is coming. The shadow of the British Empire is stretching across the Atlantic, reaching for their island sanctuary.
This looming threat creates a deep psychological fracture within the Republic. As the night deepens, you can hear the arguments breaking out around the fires. Men like Benjamin Hornigold, tired and aging, are secretly contemplating the pardon. They have made their fortunes, and the prospect of dying a free man in a clean bed is becoming more appealing than swinging from a gibbet. But men like Charles Vane and Edward Teach spit at the mention of the king's mercy. They view the pardon as a trap, an insult to everything they have built. They would rather die fighting on the deck of a sinking ship than beg for forgiveness from a king who abandoned them to starve. The unity of the flying gang is cracking. The democratic utopia is beginning to devour itself. The pirate captains are growing paranoid, wondering which of their brothers will take the pardon and turn pirate hunter, selling out their former comrades for a bounty. The very freedom that brought them together is now driving them apart. Nassau in 1717 is a powder keg, and the fuse has already been lit. As dawn slowly approaches, the manic energy of the night begins to burn out. The bonfires die down to glowing red embers. The fiddles fall silent. The beaches are littered with the unconscious bodies of men who drank themselves into a stupor, clutching empty bottles and stolen gold. The heat of the morning sun begins to bake the island once again, bringing back the overwhelming smell of rot and stale rum. The Pirate Republic awakens to another day of lawless freedom. You look out at the harbor, at the hundreds of masts swaying gently in the morning tide, at the black flags hanging limp in the still, humid air. It is a breathtaking sight, a monument to defiance and rebellion. But it is a monument built on sand. The Golden Age of Piracy has reached its absolute zenith. It will never be this grand, this powerful, or this free ever again. The clock is ticking. The warships are gathering. The storm is coming. But for today, just for today, Nassau belongs to the pirates.
If you liked this video, please hit the like and subscribe button for more.